What's up guys, today I'm at Cape Hatteras National Seashore and we're right about at sunset, and I really wanted to capture a really good sunset panorama of Cape Hatteras Lighthouse that's right behind the camera on the other side that I'm looking at right now. The sun's going down behind it. It's shaping up to be a really good sunset, shaping up to be a pretty pristine scene that we can shoot here. And kind of what I'm envisioning for tonight is a good pano that spans out, has the lighthouse on the left side just a little bit, and then has a lot of negative space and sunset color on the right side of the frame. Not only that, what I want to do is have it more like a silhouette style with just a little bit of light coming out from that lighthouse. So it should be pretty good. Probably need to share a few tips on how to do this or how I'm framing this shot up with my overall scene here because it looks pretty good. So for this photo, what I'm using is a Fujifilm X-T30 with a 35mm lens attached. I chose the 35mm lens because I'm pretty close to the foreground here, and I still want the lighthouse to be decently large in the background. So I thought that would be the best option to capture something close with the foreground and also capture the background as well, which is the lighthouse. Overall, I want to have everything in focus, and I want to be able to do that with the 35mm and pan all the way across and get the same type of photo going across in a line. Now, when you set up a panorama, you usually want to shoot in a vertical aspect ratio. And the reason you want to do this is because it allows you to pair up the horizon line as you rotate your camera across that horizon. So we're going for a straight line here, lining this up within the bottom thirds of the frame and having that lighthouse on the left side, really complementing the rule of thirds guideline and having a good composition set up for the lighthouse that we see in front of us.
One of the reasons I love getting out to photo locations so early, especially sunset photography, is it allows me to capture other images of that feature, and I was able to do that at Hatteras Lighthouse of a telephoto shot using photo pills to plan the sun right behind the lighthouse head to get this awesome shot of Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. But it also allowed me to plan out more of my pano shot that I wanted to get.
So here you can see the composition that we're setting up for this photograph. We're going in a panorama, which is going to go all the way from this side over to the side that I'm standing on, and we want these seagrasses to be our horizon line. Now, to do this, what we need to do is have the horizon line on the bottom third of the rule of third grid on our line. This is going to help us line those up and keep that bottom line linear across the entire panorama that we're going to be stitching together. Now, we're doing something a little bit different here in panoramas. So as you rotate the camera on your tripod head, what you need to remember is you're lining up objects within the frame. So you need to pick out a piece of seagrass or the lighthouse itself as you rotate that camera and go from one frame, know where that spot is on the frame, rotate your camera, photograph it again, have that on the other side of the frame, rotate your camera, pick out a different spot, have it on the other side of the frame, rotate your camera, and you're doing this process over and over to be sure that you have objects within this frame going all the way across the scene. Doing this is going to allow your post-processing software to stitch all of these things together and allow you for a perfect panorama merge in post-processing. Remember, if you skip one of these objects and leave a gap in between your frames, your pano is not going to be able to stitch because your software is using those items from photo to photo to line up the pano stitch. So what you need to do is always know going across the frame, you're lining things up across that horizon line to allow you to stitch this pano in post-processing. It's a great way of remembering that your in-field work complements your post-processing, and it's going to do that today in our pano stitch. Now, another thing to remember is that while we're doing our seagrasses as our foreground and a silhouette style of foreground, we're not exposing for the seagrasses down here. We're exposing for the sky and that color at sunset. So we don't need to worry about if these are too dark and the sand dunes are too dark. We're only focused on the sky and just maybe a little bit of light on the lighthouse itself. We also need to be aware of wind speed and things like this. So wind speed is going to blow around these seagrasses and not allow them to line up properly. So if you're doing a technique like this, always remember to come out when the wind is very low, like it is today. 1 to 2 miles per hour will allow you to photograph these seagrasses that you see behind me and pano stitch them very well together.
As you can see, there's a ton of planning that goes into any type of photography, but as I made the final adjustments, conditions were setting up perfectly for this shot. It's awesome when a plan comes together.
All right, so the sun's going down. We're gonna have to work pretty quickly here. I just wanna make sure lastly that my horizon line is right. I wanna keep that on the bottom thirds of the frame. Everything looks good. I'm just gonna focus in here. Boom, one shot, rotate it just a little bit. I had that lighthouse in the middle on that one frame. I'm moving it to the left side of the frame on this one. I'm gonna rotate that a little bit more, putting the lighthouse on a little bit more on the left side. Now it's all the way out of the frame, but I'm watching seagrasses and different subjects within those seagrasses. And I'm shooting these at 1/180th of a second f/16 ISO 160. And boom, that's good. It's silhouetted these seagrasses, it's silhouetted everything across, and we have a beautiful sunset sky in the bag. A lot of work just for one photo, but this is what makes it all worth it. It's amazing.
This pano turned out great. The silhouettes look perfect in the foreground, exactly like how I envisioned it, and you can see just enough light on the lighthouse to see the design of the Hatteras Lighthouse itself. And overall, this photo was great. I also was able to explore other parts of Outer Banks while I was there, shooting for myself and personally, just getting out under the stars. There's nothing better than shooting amazing Milky Way locations.